Hello everyone, welcome back. Thank you so much for joining me. Yes, I hope you are all well. So what I wanted to do for you today is go through some products. I get a lot of questions asked at me, to me. I get asked a lot of questions. Why was that so hard? People asking like, what version of this product should I get? Do I need this product? Where does this product fit into this routine? And although sometimes it's very nice to like buy things and have things and, you know, do stuff, sometimes we don't actually need every single product that's recommended to us or seen online. So what I wanted to talk about today with you all are products that you actually don't really need in your makeup routine at all. You can absolutely use them, but if you're somebody who doesn't like to buy too much stuff, or someone who's on a budget, maybe someone who doesn't have time to do that much makeup, or maybe you just don't want to do that much makeup and it's kind of got a little bit complicated for you, then here are some things you can drop from your makeup routine. Just before we get into that today, if this is your first time here on my channel, hi, my name is Robert. I'm a professional makeup artist here on YouTube and also in real life, and it's my goal to help you become a pro yourself or just someone who's really good at makeup. So if that sounds like something you are interested in, then please do consider subscribing. Okay, let's do it. Let's go on to our first product. So let's talk about this. This is a controversial one. No, actually, you know what? I don't think it is. But one thing you can drop from your makeup routine, and this is when it kind of comes to cleansing, is makeup wipes. You do not need makeup wipes. One, because they're bad for your skin, and I won't go into that now. I've made a video on it, but I will also link below videos from people who actually know what they're talking about when it comes to skin and why you shouldn't be using makeup wipes. But I've seen this as people cleaning their face before their makeup. They use a wipe. You don't need to do that with a wipe. And then some people are using it as a first cleanse. It's still bad if you use it as your first step as a cleanser in a double cleanse. It's still not great for your skin. The way I personally like to take off my makeup, and one that I find is a lot more calmer on my skin, not as rough, doesn't treat my skin like crap, and that's a cleansing balm or a cleansing oil. Now, these literally dissolve your makeup. Makeup wipes, although they look like they remove makeup on the surface, actually don't. It's actually pretty gross to think of how much makeup is left behind on the skin. Same with those makeup cleansing cloths. They do a good job on the surface, but actually if you look at the skin properly and then go in with another cleanse, there's still a lot of makeup left on the skin. So balms that you can literally put, it's a lazy way to cleanse, and I really like it because it's an effective lazy way to cleanse. You literally pop the balm straight on top of your makeup, rub it all away, and you can see the makeup dissolving under the balm or the oil. It's really satisfying actually, and it's actually really fun to do. And then you just rinse your face, and then you can go in with another cleanser should you choose to, or just make sure that your first cleanse of that balm is good enough that all your makeup is off. Honestly, it's the best thing. And I know we do like a lazy day, you know, but get a micellar water if that's the case. But a balm, I feel personally, is necessary for removing all your makeup. So get rid of those wipes that you have to constantly keep buying, because there's what, like 50 or 100 in a pack. This is something I get asked out a lot, and I think I've mentioned it a few times before. But the second product you don't really need in your makeup routine is primer. You need eye primer, absolutely. Face, we're talking about face primer. That isn't to say primer doesn't work. I do believe primer is really good at smoothing out the skin and making everything wear a bit better. Does it grip like glue to your skin? Not so much, maybe. Here's why I like primer in the makeup routine first, is I feel if you have extremely oily skin, extremely dry skin, or any areas on the skin that you consider like a troubled texture, then primers are really good at helping those out. But then this is also achievable with skincare sometimes. But for makeup reasons, I feel like primers are good if you have an exaggerated version of a skin type, or there's areas of your skin where you just need a little bit more help. For example, I'm extremely oily. Some days I'm not extremely oily. So on the days when I'm super oily, I will be using a primer on the areas where I get super oily. There's some days where I feel like, oh, my pores look really huge today. I'll be using a primer on those like porous areas. And then sometimes I just won't. But there's nothing as good as skincare than giving you that perfect canvas. And sometimes I find, you know what, if you do have an oilier skin, just use a serum and then go on with your foundation and your sunscreen. And then if you have drier skin, use a really good moisturizer, one that you really love, it, you know, kind of balances out that moisture level in your skin. Sunscreen, foundation, and you're all good. Primers aren't always necessary. Save them for those occasions where you're like, my skin actually needs some help today. So this is another product, and actually a technique that does kind of work well when used correctly, and yeah, but you do not need one of those primers or one of those like shine bronzy oil primers underneath your foundation. Here's why. If you really want a glow, then you can go ahead and use like, you know, a liquid highlighter mixed in with your foundation or on the skin. But you'll find a lot of the time that these bronzing tone ones give you quite a red undertone. Bronzers are red in tone, terracotta, orangey. They are all these different colors, so it gives you this very rosier tone through your foundation, and it can kind of offset your foundation if you're using a sheerer foundation. I mean, you see them all the time on like you know, viral videos where they're using it over the whole face. Unnecessary, especially if you're then going to go on top with a full coverage foundation. If you want that glow but you want full coverage, mix the two products together. You might get a little bit of difference in consistency. Better yet, just use a highlighter on top. It's really an unnecessary step, but I find out when people see things on like these viral videos, it's like, oh crap, I don't do that in my makeup routine. I need to add it. What's the best product? You really don't need to. Now, let's talk about green concealer. This is, I mean, yeah, so I don't think I have ever once in my makeup career felt the need for a green concealer on someone, ever. Even with the worst rosacea, I don't think I've ever felt like, oh crap, I really need a green concealer, because yellow does the same thing. So if you need a green concealer, more than likely it's because you're trying to cover up redness. Here's the deal, right? Two things you can do. If you have a yellow tone concealer that you're using already, or even a foundation, always do your foundation first. Concealer goes afterwards when we're covering up blemishes, because you want to see how much of a foundation covers first, then go in with your concealer to conceal the rest. Adding that green is an unnecessary step, because then you have to color correct that green. Here's the deal with color correction. You color correct a color, but then you have to color correct this color to make sure that it blends with the color in some cases. So it's always an unnecessary step. When we do bright red under eyes, we have to cancel out that bright redness, or it looks like orange through our foundation. So just use your normal concealer if it's yellow tone. And even if you have a red undertone, you can buy a yellow tone concealer that is almost level in depth and pitch of color rather than the undertone. I hope that makes sense. Yellow cancels out red as much as green does. This is going to be so difficult to edit because I just keep talking and changing what I'm talking about halfway through, so I hope I'm making sense. Another thing that isn't really necessary are contour palettes. So I know some people don't really like to contour because when they think of contour, they think of drawing on the face with different color concealers or cream contour and things like that. But you can do the same with powder. However, although I love a contour palette, the Kevyn Aucoin contour palettes are amazing. You don't always have to have a contour palette. There's going to be something in your makeup kit set that you can probably contour with, and usually it is a nude eyeshadow palette. When you think of contour, you want it to be slightly grayer in tone, and we don't mean pure gray, just a little bit, just slightly more a tone than a color, because contouring is mimicking shadow. Shadow is dark. It's like, it's not a color, it's not orange, it's not bronze, you know? So when you're contouring, you're mimicking shadow. When you think of a nude eyeshadow palette, right, ignore the shimmers. This color right here will be a great contour for very fair skin tones because it has that warmth, but it's still grayish enough undertone. You have this deeper color down here that would be great on deeper skin tones because again, it's not red brown, it's not too ashy gray brown, it's somewhere in between. So all these nude eyeshadow palettes have great contour shades because they aren't like bronzer colors. They're not like skin shade colors. They are always going to be a tone off a different color. So before you go and buy like a contour palette or a product that is dedicated to being a contour product, try out some of the shades in your nude eyeshadows, and some of them will be surprising to you. There will be shades like this that will make a great contour when you try it. So try a few different tones and see what there is. I used to use the shade from MAC, it was called Kid. I don't use MAC anymore, but I used to use that on my nose, and although it looked pink, it was actually a really ashy tone that sat really well with my skin tone. So I used to use that on my nose because it looked like shadow. I'm talking really fast and I don't usually do that. Same with like brightening as well. Look what colors are in your eyeshadow palettes and just go ahead and use that. This is kind of like everyone will be like, yeah, I know, I don't have to use those. False lashes. So sometimes when I do a look, if I put it on Instagram, if I put it here on YouTube, I get some people, they're like, but I don't want to use false lashes. And that's fine. You don't have to use false lashes at all. I think when people think of false lashes, and I do the same because I like it, I like long fluffier lashes. You can get ones that are a lot more natural. They look a lot more natural on the eyes and don't look like that kind of 3D, you know, kind of shape. So I use lashes because I feel like it's a finishing touch to a look. I feel like it defines the eye shape and just, yeah, it just finishes everything off, you know, and they can kind of add a lift sometimes. They can turn the corners down. They can have a really good effect on the eye shape. A really great way, alternatively, to kind of sculpt the eye shape is to just tightline the eyes or use a product that, even if you're going natural, use a dark brown across the lash line like you would normally do a liner. Tuck a bit of pencil up here, up in this waterline, you know, get right in there and draw on. That will add a bit of definition to the eye shape. I know a lot of people also don't like putting eyeshadow underneath the eye, but that for me, like I have someone now, I like to look a little bit more tired, which lucky me because it's how I look anyway. So for me, putting a little bit of that darker color under the eye gives a little bit more definition to the eye area. And of course, mascara is always going to give you that definition on the lashes that you need. Although I have crappy lashes, I think that's another reason why I like to add lashes. So one last thing that I think is highly unnecessary are big brush sets. And those brush sets you can get that have like 20 different things in. They're really great, like looking at them, and if you're, you know, it's your job and you like to use loads of brushes. I know in my personal kit I do use quite a few brushes because, you know, what's the word, it's useful to have all those brushes. But personally as well, I have quite a few brushes here. I get sent some brushes, which I'm very thankful for. I buy brushes sometimes if I want to, but I always reach for the same brushes, and when I can't find that brush, or if I've used it, then I'll clean it and use that same one. So sometimes I get a little bit disappointed in myself that I buy all these brushes, I get sent all these things and I stick to the same things all the time. But I feel like we kind of discover our favorite brushes and the brushes that suit our eye shape more, and some shapes of brushes are so much easier to use for ourselves. Personally, I have brushes that are so old, the brush isn't the same shape as how it used to be when I got it, but I know that the way that brush is now really works for me really well because I've, you know, used it for a really long period of time and I've kind of adapted to using that kind of brush. Is it nice to have loads of brushes? Yes. Is it nice to clean them all? Not really. But I feel like if you're going to go for a brush set, choose a brush set that has a good 6 brushes in it, like one that's been really thought out, one that is useful for everything. Brushes that are multi-purpose. Eyeshadow blending brushes, for example, can be used for blending eyeshadow, concealer, things, stuff, you know, there's loads of different uses for different brushes. So it's good to kind of think about what you can use those brushes for, if you're actually going to use them, and how useful really is like an 100-piece brush set going to be. Nice to have, but also useless. All right, I hope that helped some of you out there, and I hope it gave you all something to think about. Are there any products that you have kind of left out of your makeup routine recently that you're like, you know what, I don't need this? Are there products you find yourself shying away from now, or products that you bought that were maybe like spur of a moment because you thought it was like a trend? Let me know in the comments below. Give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, and please consider subscribing, and I will see you very soon. Bye.